I'm Jeff, your host of the Gay Church Podcast, a podcast of Waycross Pride in Waycross, Georgia. Thank you for joining me for this very first podcast. We've never done one before. I've done podcasts before in other places for other things, but this is the first time we're coming together for a podcast for Waycross Pride. And I'm using the words or the title gay church because it's kind of controversial given where we are located. We're located in a place that a lot of people like to call the Bible Belt for whatever reason. Um, uh, I don't see a lot of people in our space necessarily toting Bibles or necessarily living by the Bible per se. We're actually a very diverse crowd, a very diverse community. Even though there's churches on every corner, some of that maybe once was has faded, and now there's a lot of different people that live in Waycross, Georgia. We look a lot like everybody else everywhere else that I've ever been. Maybe we have a little bit of a southern flair, maybe a little bit of a southern accent. Maybe we do one or two things differently or unique. Maybe mostly in the way that we cook our food or eat our food. But other than that, we're just a lot like everybody else. So today I'm going to be looking at some ideas out of a book called Queer Magic. And don't worry, I'm not going to get too ooky spooky on you. We're just going to get into some topics of just asking some questions. So, what makes a man a man? What makes a woman a woman? Is a man simply someone with facial hair who's tall, strong, aggressive, and sexually attracted to females? It could be, but then again, we all know some men who aren't many or any of those things. Is a woman someone who wears makeup and is petite, family oriented, gentle, and sexually attracted to males? Sometimes, yeah, but we all know some women who aren't. So maybe the answer has something to do with science. Our biology must be what defines and divides the genders, right? A man is a human with an X and a Y chromosome, and a woman is a human with two X chromosomes. But still, this doesn't seem to fully satisfy our question, does it? After all, what about the people with XXY chromosomes? Plus, modern medicine, surgical advances, they allow a male to biologically become a female and a female to biologically become a male. So then, is being a male the definition of being a man? And being a female the definition of being a woman? Well, what would your answer be? Go ahead, think of your response. You don't have to say it out loud. To you, what makes a woman and a man? Now, let's take it a step further. If you had lived 100 years ago, would your answer be the same as it is today? What about 500 years ago? 1,000 years ago? Two or 3,000 years ago? What if you'd been born into another culture, in another religion, in another country? You see, the concept of what it is to be a man and what it is to be a woman is not and has not and never will be set in stone. Interesting, isn't it? But perhaps you're thinking, what does defining men and women have to do with our magical tribe of the LGBTQ plus people throughout the globe, throughout time? Well, a lot, really. Let's take the acronym apart and look at those letters individually. Now, I'm not going to be using textbook definitions. I'm just going to use just some real simple definitions. And it may not apply to everybody, but you'll get the point. So, lesbians, the L, are women who are sexually attracted to women. Gays, the G, are men who are sexually attracted to men. B, the bisexuals, are either men or women We're attracted to both men and women. The P isn't in there, it's more in the plus, but the pansexuals are people who are attracted to others irregardless of orientation or gender. Transgender individuals are people who were born as one biological sex and transitioned into the other. And the list goes on, including queer, the Q, and intersex individuals, ace, and a whole bunch more. But if our sexual and gender identities are based upon being men or women who are attracted to men and or women, and we already established what defines men and women varies from culture to culture, from era to era, then how can we, with absolute unchanging certainty, define the LGBTQ plus community currently or at any point in history? Or for that matter, how can we define the sexual and gender identities of the all powerful, the omnipresent, immortal God or gods or goddesses or whoever is out there with these limiting labels? Now, to be fair, I've thrown a bunch of questions at you. I've played a little bit of devil's advocate, excuse me, and a bit without giving any solid answers. But really, that's kind of where this podcast is coming from. Now, like you, I've had a lot of questions, not just about the world, but about myself, my sexuality, my identity, and a whole lot about my spirituality. From an early age, I knew that I was attracted to men, but that didn't mean I wasn't a man. And anyone who knew me never would have labeled me a woman because I was pretty much man like in my behavior, but still, I didn't seem to act like other men, not at least anyone I knew. And from an early age, I also knew that I was surprisingly attracted to females. And, but I was a man, but I still wasn't like other men, not anyone that I knew. And nobody seemed to act like me. I mean, what was I? I didn't have words for it. And I felt like I didn't belong and I just wanted to get away. Not in a nihilistic sense, but I wanted to go out. I wanted to explore the world to find my tribe. Uh, of course, being a teenager didn't help. School, growing up in the 80s and 90s, my generation, didn't really help. We didn't have the internet at that point, so I had to use what was available. I used books and the pages of history books. I tried religion. And the religion that I found told me that everything about me was wrong. Everything was immoral. Everything wasn't right. I needed to pray the gay away. I needed to push it down. I needed to crucify the flesh. I needed to get rid of all of it. And that was just what I tried to do for a lot of years. And a lot of those years, I was an angry sign guy. You may have seen me out on the side of the road with a picket sign, carrying a huge cross around town. I once even wore chains and talked about the dangers of pornography. And the more I learned about my queer tribe of others that was spread throughout the ages and the globe, in so many religious traditions and spiritual beings, the more I realized how vast and diverse our tribe is. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender are just a small handful of the flavors under the umbrella of queerness that have existed in our history and religious traditions on every inch of the land of the earth. Throughout history, in every part of the globe, and in every spiritual plane, are members of our tribe, the LGBTQIA IA plus, all the different letters of the alphabet. Had schools taught queer world history or queer religious studies, maybe people like me wouldn't have gone through all the struggles that we had. Maybe I would have been comforted in knowing that I wasn't alone, both in community and in spirit. What's good? What good is knowledge that some people have if it isn't shared and acted upon? So here we are with our collected knowledge, our research about our tribe of queer humans and gods and goddesses and all alike, as well as magical ways that our queer brothers and sisters interact with those queer gods. So here we are. We find ourselves enrolled in experiencing together gay church. I'm Jeff with Waycross Pride. And so I hope this poses a lot of questions for you. And I hope that we can get into some of the meat, bones, potatoes, all of it, and speak together so that we can share the knowledge that we have, this collected knowledge and research, so that maybe somebody doesn't have to feel alone. Someone doesn't have to go through all of the hardships and traumas that we faced. Maybe somebody can have it a little easier. Maybe they can take a cut in the line. Maybe they can get ahead a little bit. Maybe they can experience more years on this earth living their authentic, true self without having to push it down or stay in a closet of some type. So join us as we continue this journey of gay church together.